Well, thanks for staying with us. It's daybreak on Arise News, and it's time for the press review. A look at what's the front pages as they arrive. And of course, we start with this day, which is the newspaper of choice. It has the big headline there: Constitution Review, National Assembly OKAYS autonomy for LG's, state legislature, judiciary. And of course, there's that sideline there. It says Senate passes 49 out of 68 constitution bills, moves prisons, railways, power generation from exclusive to concurrent list, rejects pension for parliament's presiding officers, says states free to collect VAT, empowers National Assembly, state assemblies to summon president as well as governors, and unfortunately turns down proposals for special seats for women in legislature. OKAYS independent candidature for elections also approves separation of AGF, Justice Minister's Office. And also from the This Day newspapers, 2023, INEC meets parties, presents new voters list as Buhari seeks fresh amendments to Electoral Act as he wants Clause 84 expunged.
Moving on now to the Punch newspaper, the federal government loses out. The National Assembly affirms states has power to collect value-added tax. Lagos, the South Akwa Ibom hails lawmakers on value-added tax and says it's true federalism. There's much more right above that: Russian invasion, Nigeria to evacuate Ghanaians, Cameroonians and others. APC governors meet Buhari, say March 26th convention stays. And the Universities Association, ASU, is demanding, ASU's demand mustn't violate a wages commission procedure. And that's according to the minister. That's on page 9. And there's more right below that. 2023, separate politics from security. LCCI warns the federal government. Find that report on page 33.
All right, let's take a look at the Nation. Well, Amaka has dealt with senators' reps no to bill seeking VAT for the federal government. Let's go on to some other things. Just down, you see Adamo's picture. Senator Adamo Buhari turns down governor's plea to drop Adamo. APC is considering him for the chairman of the party. And then just below that, Darwin College expels bully. Work begins on Badagry Seaport June. And then on the masthead, ASU has received 92 billion naira, says federal government. Pali on strike ongoing. Buhari Oyetola Tinubu Kalu Iloja Sadeway at 80. Find it on page 7. President goes on 2 weeks medical vacation on page 2. VIN custom agents meeting ends in deadlock. Find that on page 11. That will be it for the Nation newspapers.
And now let's take a look at Nigerian Tribune. Of course, the big headline there still has to do with the Constitution Review. But beyond that, we see Oyo government sues the EFCC for questioning security votes, consolidated revenue fund disbursement. Agency releases state accountant general from detention. You can find that on page 5 of the Nigerian Tribune. And also there's a story that says Buhari to undergo 2 weeks medical checkup in London. That you can find on page 12. And Oni Alafi meet Aregbesola over feud with Tinubu. And this interesting one, it says what PDP must do to win 2023 elections. That's according to the governor of Sokoto State, Aminu Tambuwal. You can find that on page 26.
The international papers quickly. The Times. There's a child at a camp in Poland crying. Leave now, Putin warns as he prepares to bombard Kiev.
All right, let's talk Financial Times. China is offering a role as a peacemaker. That's interesting, concerning, of course, the Russia-Ukraine war, if you like, you call it that. And then Beijing extremely concerned about civilians as it joins push for ceasefire. That's I'm talking about the riders now. Russian missile targets TV tower near Kiev's Holocaust Memorial, and about 660,000 people have fled Ukraine since war began. That was about 6 days ago. We have Emmanuel Bello, actually, for the press review. Emmanuel, glad to have you join us.
Good morning, Emmanuel.
Good morning to you. Good, I'm sure you can hear us, so right. Good, fine. It's interesting. Yes. I don't know where to begin. Let's begin with Ukraine. Ukraine returns in the Ukrainians actually returning in their numbers. This is quite interesting. About 80,000 people returning to fight on the side of Ukraine. What's your sense of that?
We're watching playing out before us, you know, a serious show of bravery by those Ukrainians. They are fighting hard. They've said that they were not leaving. Nobody is leaving. We see them sending their wives, their sisters, the women, the children out, and they then staying back to say, look, we're going to fight. The world is watching and applauding their courage. Yesterday, the Ukrainian president got a standing ovation, and he has become something of, you know, the symbol of bravery and that sort of thing. So, that's what is playing out. These Ukrainians are fighting real hard. We are going to watch and see how far they're able to protect what they call glorious glory to Ukraine, which is their anthem. But we're seeing acts of bravery. Those pictures, those videos, really resounding around the whole world with practically almost everyone in agreement and united against a common foe. So they are providing a lot of inspiration, led by their president. We see them standing before tanks. We see them asking Russian soldiers to go back home. The defiance, the bravery, the heart of it all is very heartwarming, and that seems to be really, really a strong rallying point for this global push against what Putin is doing.
Right, and Emmanuel, of course, this is at a time where a 40-mile-long convoy of Russian tanks are heading towards the Ukrainian capital of Kiev. But Emmanuel, I want to bring you back home to Nigeria. And of course, let's take a look at, you know, the constitutional review as it happened at the National Assembly yesterday. And what you make of the fact that, you know what, the Senate has passed 49 out of 68 constitutional bills. And some of the bills that are rejected are seeing a lot of reactions from Nigerians, especially the fact that the 9th Assembly had an opportunity, you know, to really create special seats for women in the legislature. Your reactions to the constitutional review process, really?
Well, that's very important, and I think women groups across the country will be talking about that, especially also that, you know, the First Lady and the wife of the Vice President actually made such a strong showing by even, you know, attending physically to see that something is done in that regard. But while that is just the downtown, the other things that happened yesterday are people are applauding them. The autonomy granted the local government, the state, and judiciary at the state level, the legislative arm. Those things are the kind of things that a lot of people see us going. They see the future of this country in that kind of push. People have talked about those autonomy. In the past, there have been those efforts, only that they were frustrated again, even by the state's government. But I tell you, by and large, it will make a great you know, sense, a serious sense, if these local governments are over 700 of them, if they are autonomous, if they can control their wealth, if they can control their resources and develop those local governments. Half of the reason why you see the country is what it is like this, more than half of the reasons, or maybe 80%, close to 90% of where we are today is because of the crisis at the local government level. Nothing is happening down there, and the sum of all of that is the crisis we are seeing that we call underdevelopment. So it's a great one. The National Assembly members are getting a lot of applause. It's now left for the states to see what happened. Some of the CSOs are not happy, thinking that, look, this has happened before. Those kind of beautiful plans and efforts were made in the past, especially for autonomy, and then they were shut down at the state level, didn't go anywhere. But this seems to be by far one of the boldest moves to ensure that true federalism is restored, even the issue of VAT, so many angles, and that's why you see all the Nigerian paper today pouring and taking all their angles and looking at various aspects of what happened yesterday. But it's quite historic if you look at the outcome and the decisions reached on many, very many interesting issues.
Emmanuel, on that issue of VAT, the value-added tax, the Punch is saying the federal government's lost out as the National Assembly affirms states' power to collect VAT. This marks a new reality. What does it mean really for the federal government?
Yeah, can you remember that most of last year, towards the end of last year, most of it, we were having these conversations here. We talked about it when the governors were, especially Governor Wike, pushing so strongly that, look, allow states to collect allow states to control their VAT, and then the federal government was pulling on the other hand and saying that, look, no, it's double jeopardy for states, for businesses and the rest, and saying that, look, the federal government has got the right to be in charge of those collections. You remember the back and forth, you remember even the victories in courts, and now the National Assembly is putting a stamp on it and saying that, look, states can control their resources. By far, a lot of people believe that this is the heart of the matter. This is very, very important, and that it goes to the heart of the issue of federalism itself. With even some groups saying that for the first time, true federalism is restored. The ability of states not only to maximize on whatever they have there, but to actually control their resources and see how they're going to use their resources to develop their state. In the past, what you have is a situation where everything is poured into the federal coffer, and then through the internal revenue system, people get what they'll get. But now, states are going to have those kind of control. So yes, the way Punch capped it looks like if it's a contest in which the federal government is lost out and the states are winning. And at the end of the day, it's not going to be a win-lose situation. It's probably going to be a win-win situation. If the states are able to control the VATs, their resources, they're able to use them to deal with the crisis, the states will engage in what look like competition. Every state has got something to maximize on. But now, because they have to come to the center, get those fact checks, go back to the state, share them out, and nobody is thinking of their internally generated revenue. That's where you begin to have this problem. But this is going to push a lot of states to look inwards and see how best they can maximize on their potentials, and also how they can be more transparent and accountable for what they get from the federal government. So it's a good one, and yes, the federal government actually lost out in this contest.
Let me stay with the foreign news. Let's talk about the fact that Ukraine has applied to EU. They want to join the bloc. Ursula von der Leyen says they are looking at Ukraine's application to join the EU. But Ireland, it takes about 10 to 12, 14 years, and there are people on the line. Accession talks have to start. What's your sense of this application? How do you see it turning out?
Well, yeah, this is actually part of the problem. This is why Putin was putting in all the brakes and saying that he doesn't want Ukraine to be part of the EU, and of course not to join NATO and all of that. Sadly, this aggression, the war itself, has pushed Ukraine further away from the very thing that Putin is worried about, and saying that it has to be part of the EU. So this has upped the ante for international diplomacy and in the international community. And sadly for Russia, like a lot of people believe that it miscalculated. If he thought that, look, an aggression on Ukraine was going to push, was going to make Ukrainians call and say, okay, fine, we can be part of the old Soviets. It didn't work out that way. He miscalculated, misfired. He misfired, and it has backfired now. More nations are rallying around Ukraine. Ukraine is getting more closer to the Western, its Western supporters, while Russia, on the other hand, is getting more isolated, becoming more of a pariah nation, with standing alone. One foreign paper actually saying shunned by the world, the whole world shunning Russia and embracing more of Ukraine. So this is one of the outcomes of that aggression, and how this is going to save Ukraine at the end of the day is one thing that everyone, experts around the world, those watching this development keenly, are watching to see how it happens. But for now, Russia has been pushed to the background, almost like a pariah nation, with even some of its billionaires saying that, look, this is hurting. Those sanctions are hurting. Being isolated from the rest of the world is hurting, and it's only a matter of time. With some people boldly asking the people to actually, even rise against the government of Vladimir Putin. These are the kind of crises that the Russian Federation has found himself now in, with both Ukraine getting more accepted, and even, of course, with this push to be part of the EU, getting a very popular idea. So it's a situation where you plant something and the outcome now it's different from what you really planned. You've really pushed yourself, boxed yourself into a corner and pushed Ukraine away further.
Right, and of course, it's not just the oligarchs who are actually feeling the pinch of all of these restrictions, because even the ruble, the Russian currency, is now close to, you know, the same
forward.
with the cent in the U.S. Emmanuel Bello would have to say thank you so much, and of course, that's the press preview.